Pirates, ninjas, Vikings. Today we're going to build a side table. And to make it a little more interesting, I'm going to try to do it in less than an hour. So here's the dimensions that I used. Granted, I drew this up after I built it. Now, I'm also using things I have around the shop. This is the quote-unquote scrap I have laying about. The legs are reclaimed from another project. I had a small piece of poplar, and I also had a pre-glued up tabletop. So things are based off of that tabletop size. Also, I know that my side tables want to be 24 inches tall. Now, to attach the legs to the table, normally you would have a table apron corner bracket, like this table from IKEA. But I don't have any of those laying around, so I'm going to have to make some. It was just a question of how long should it be. And over to the miter saw, where I mark the miter saw, so I can do repeat cuts quickly. I have 1/4 inch hanger bolts to put into the legs, so I'm drilling a 5/16 inch hole in the bracket. So there's a tiny bit of wiggle room. Now begins our cautionary tale of building quickly. First, I set up a corner. It's just two 2x4s screwed together at 90 degrees. That's going to get clamped to the table, and that's going to hold everything while I screw it together. So the whole plan here was to show you how to do an angled toe screw. Toe screwing is just a way of putting a screw in at an angle. And the way you do that is by starting your pilot hole going perpendicular to the board and then turning the drill and going in the direction you want at an angle. Now, immediately on the first board, there was a tiny crack, and I wasn't too concerned because the glue's going to hold it. And I thought I should try a different kind of screw. So I go get one, and immediately I snap the head off of that. So I'm just going to keep going with drywall screws. So I went to the second one, and things were not perfect. But again, I'm being quick. And then we got to the third one, and it just broke. So I cut another one and thought, let me try screwing in going perpendicular to the board. And hey, it worked. Much better than the other way. Is this the way I wanted to do it? No. Is this the way you should do it? Perhaps. So I drew this up to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about without the wood in the way. I have the screw going at an angle through the board, which caused the head of the screw to want to split the board. If I go in perpendicular to the board, the screw head ends up flush, and everyone was happy. I'm using pocket holes to attach the apron to the top. This may not be the ideal solution. There's a whole lecture about wood movement, and as the humidity changes, the wood expands and contracts. I think I got a workaround for this. I'm putting a 1/4 inch round over on the top. To install the hanger bolts, I'm first sanding a corner off the leg. So over at the drill press, I have this 2x4 that has two 45-degree angle cuts in it that allow me to drill into this corner. So this is a hanger bolt. It has threads for going into wood on one side and nuts on the other side. To get this into the leg, I put 2 nuts on and tighten them all the way down. and then use a ratchet to install. And if things are in your favor, a crescent wrench will pop the nuts right off. But sometimes they're not in your favor, and I've got to get a pair of needle nose out to grip the hanger bolt so I can get the nut off, and then I'll just tighten it back in with the needle nose pliers. And finally, a satisfying click. One of the legs was just a little bit off, so I had to adjust the hole with wiggling a drill bit in there. I'm filling in some of the holes in the reclaimed lumber. I also drilled too far in the drill press, and I've got to fill that one in too. No one's going to notice because it's all getting painted. Yes, you need to sand everything. So much sanding. You don't want to watch me sand anymore. And of course, everything's getting painted. I'm not counting the painting as part of the hour because the paint's got to dry. Also, I had to stop twice in the middle of this to go do something else. So I can confidently say this took about an hour to build. Even with all the mishaps and the learning that happened. Now, the paint's going to help with the wood expansion. Because the pores of the wood are sealed up with paint, I'm hoping that the expansion is very minimal. Once the paint was dry, all I had to do was install the legs. And there you have it, one side table. Looking spiffy. Put it next to your sofa. Put it under a window with some plants on it. Put it next to your grand piano so you can have a place to put your drink. I hope you learned something. Any questions, leave them in the comments.